Jen here, and this video is going to be really different from all my others. Let's get salty. What I wish most that someone had told me is that healing is not a destination. You don't drive there and then get out on the plateau and then just live happily ever after without struggles. Every day there's something that you have to consciously consider that maybe somebody else can take for granted. I'm not gonna say how old I am now, but decades, we'll just say decades, after leaving that environment and pursuing my own goals, there are still days, there are still moments where the monsters are constantly knocking at the door. The daily struggles that I still encounter. So for me, it's a constant active effort to look in my tool bag and say, what's the best one for this situation? Going onto automatic sometimes fails me hard. And there are other times when I feel super in tune with myself and very powerful and very accurate, on game, and I am, right? But that's the nature of this kind of trauma and complex trauma, is you're not going to be able to stand up super tall and shiny every day. And that doesn't mean that your value tomorrow or yesterday is worth any less. Every day is a conscious choice to heal, to empower someone else to heal. You're not obligated to serve others. Sometimes it's simply sharing your journey. I hope my journey gives someone some kind of comfort and insight. That's why we do it. To help each other feel less alone and facilitate the healing process. You see those lines on my face are more than just wrinkles. These are grief lines, right? Shit of your life, it shows on your face. That's why maturity is also beautiful. I'm having a hard time moving with the grain of the world around me. Things feel too sharp, too fast, and overwhelming. Sounds are making me jump. Subtle disagreement or disapproval in gestures and body language, super sensitized to. And the environment feels unpredictable. I'm having a hard time focusing. I'm having a hard time taking in input from the world. When I don't sleep enough or my routine is a little too off, most of it is trauma. I was born into a small cult. I was raised extremely isolated from the world, right in the middle of it. This tiny little spot flying under the radar. I remember watching the David Koresh stuff on TV, and part of me thought, wow, that's crazy. And the other part of me knotted up in my stomach because I felt the parallels. I knew it wasn't that far away, and that that's what this could end up. Things would devolve into irrational screaming and yelling, violence. It was all about keeping control at all costs. Using fairly advanced dark psychology, enforcing almost complete isolation as much as one could in the middle of a suburban life. I feel extremely foreign sometimes. And sometimes the foreignness is too much. Going back to CPSD for a minute, it tends to cause a level of emotional and mental dissociation. So it's so painful over a long, sustained period of time that the only way to survive it psychologically is to shut off and put it behind a door, put it behind a wall so you can keep functioning. The trouble with that is eventually your closet that you're stuffing all of these things into, it can get full. You open the door, something falls out, it hits you in the head, and you realize you can't get away from it long term. Eventually there has to be a reckoning, even if it's only a personal one in your own mind with the therapist, on writing, putting a narrative to the disjointed situations that you found yourself in. It's good to use strategies that you need to cope. Denial can be effective. very effective survival strategy. Short term, not long term. Long term, your big brain is not going to let you do it. You can mask it as much as you want with excitement or covers or drugs or alcohol, sex. Eventually you got to figure yourself out and feel clean again. I think it's important to remember that we're not cloths for someone to rip that leaves this huge gaping hole that can never be filled. We're more like putty that you can stretch and pierce, and just like the body heals a wound, if you give it the right clean conditions, you can heal emotional and psychological wounds too. It's never too late to continue working toward your ideal self that you can be right now in this moment. And make sure that the people around you are also having loyalty to your best version of yourself, supporting you, but not enabling your toxic, unhealthy habits. We all have them. We live in this very difficult world that is in some ways very unforgiving for mental health troubles and really disconnected from one another in personal ways, creating a lot of rules that aren't intuitive for a lot of people who just don't know how to fit in. So while my personal journey is just that, it's very personal, it's very different, and it's complex, everyone has an equally complex, individual, internal journey. We face our own battles every day. And you are enough to bring your best self and contribute positively and bring value to whatever it is that you care about. You bring value in ways you don't know. You shape the world around you with your actions, even if you feel like a stone that's just falling. Even if you feel like you're always the recipient, things happen to you. You happen to others in good and bad ways all the time. That's just being a person. We bump in. But as long as you keep trying and asking the questions, if you're watching this right now, congrats at working toward clarity, self-improvement, and peace. Stay salty, guys.